What if the best insulation material ever discovered was sitting in your recycling bin this entire time? What if the fiberglass industry spent decades burying a solution so cheap, so effective, that it would destroy their billion-dollar empire overnight? You have been paying hundreds, maybe thousands of dollars to insulate your home. And the entire time, the answer was right there. Newspaper and sawdust. Two materials you throw away every single week. Today, you are going to learn exactly what the fiberglass giants do not want you to know. This secret was used before World War II to build homes that stayed warm through brutal winters without a single dollar spent on commercial insulation. Real homes, real results. And the industry crushed it. Stay until the end because the last tip will shock you completely. Think about your home right now. In summer, it becomes an oven. In winter, it becomes a freezer. You crank the heater, you crank the air conditioning. And every single month, that energy bill arrives, and it punches you straight in the stomach. You are not alone. Millions of homeowners across the country feel this exact same pain every single day. So what do? You call a contractor. You ask about insulation. And suddenly, you are getting quotes for $800, $1,200, sometimes $2,000 just to insulate one room. $2,000 for one room. And the contractor smiles and tells you this is the industry standard. This is what proper insulation costs. He brings in rolls of pink fiberglass bats. He sprays foam into your walls. He charges you for labor, for materials, for equipment, and you pay it. Because what choice do you have? Your family's freezing. Your electricity bill is bleeding you dry. You trust the professionals. But here is what that contractor never tells you. Here is what the company that manufactured those pink fiberglass rolls absolutely does not want you to think about. Fiberglass insulation has a thermal performance rating called R value. The higher the number, the better it insulates. A standard fiberglass bat gives you somewhere between R3 and R4 per inch. That is what you're paying $2,000 for. And the forgotten material, the one buried and suppressed for over 70 years, performs at nearly the same level, sometimes better, for almost zero cost. Every single week you're throwing this material into your recycling bin and never thinking twice about it. Back in the 1930s and 1940s, builders across North America and Europe used something called cellulose insulation. It was made from recycled paper, sawdust, wood fiber, and natural organic material. Homes insulated with this method stayed remarkably warm. Energy costs were nearly nothing. Families who could not afford modern materials used what they had, and their homes outperformed the expensive alternatives. Then something changed. Around 1953, the major manufacturing companies began mass-producing synthetic insulation materials, Owens Corning, Johns Manville. These corporations had invested enormous amounts of capital into fiberglass production lines. They needed the market. And cellulose insulation, this cheap, accessible, nearly free alternative, was a direct threat to everything they were building. So they lobbied, they funded research that questioned the safety of organic insulation, they pushed building codes that favored their products. They spent millions making sure contractors, builders, and homeowners believed that anything other than fiberglass or foam was inferior, dangerous, unreliable. The American Home Builders Association in the late 1950s quietly shifted its recommended materials list. Organic alternatives disappeared from mainstream guides. An entire generation of builders grew up never learning what the generation before them had perfected. What I am about to show you is what they erased. They spent millions keeping this quiet because a bag of sawdust costs nothing and a bundle of old newspapers is free. Only 1% of people building and renovating homes today know that this method still works, that it has always worked, and that you can do it yourself this weekend for almost no money at all. Here's the truth they buried. Newspaper and sawdust, when properly prepared and combined, create an insulating material with an R value that rivals commercial fiberglass bats. Newspaper alone has an R value of approximately R3.7 per inch when shredded and packed correctly. Sawdust, depending on wood type, delivers between R2.5 and R3 per inch. When you combine them, and when you add a simple natural borate treatment that costs under $2 at any hardware store, you get a fire-resistant, pest-resistant, moisture-managing insulation material for a total cost of under $4 per square foot covered. Compare that to commercial spray foam insulation, which costs between $1.50 and $3 per board foot just for materials alone, not including the professional labor that can run another $40 to $60 per hour. A professional insulation job for a medium-sized attic costs between $1,500 and $3,000. The newspaper and sawdust method for the same attic, under $50 in total. Under $50. This simple combination works because cellulose fiber, which is exactly what both newspaper and sawdust are, traps air molecules inside its structure. Heat moves through air in three ways: conduction, convection, and radiation. dense packed cellulose fiber interrupts all three pathways. It is the same scientific principle behind why wool keeps you warm and why the most expensive modern insulation products on the market are actually just engineered versions of this exact same fiber trapping technology. Professional shops and contractors charge $300 per hour for knowledge you are going to have completely for free in the next few minutes. Now here's exactly how you do this. You're going to need old newspapers, fine sawdust from untreated wood, borax powder from the laundry aisle, a spray bottle filled with water, a large plastic bin or tub for mixing, basic protective gloves, and a dust mask, and either a hand shredder or a paper shredder set to strip cut. Start by shredding your newspaper into strips no wider than ½ an inch. You want surface area. The more surface area the newspaper has, the more air pockets form when it is packed. Fill your mixing bin about 2/3 full of shredded newspaper strips. Then add sawdust at a ratio of roughly 1 part sawdust to 3 parts shredded newspaper by volume. Mix them together by hand until the two materials are evenly distributed throughout the bin. Next, prepare your borate solution. Mix 3 tablespoons of borax powder into 1 liter of warm water in your spray bottle and shake it well. Borax is the key ingredient that makes this mixture fire resistant and insect repellent. Without it, do not skip it. Lightly mist the entire mixture in your bin with the borax solution as you continue to turn and mix the material. You want the mixture to feel slightly damp, not wet. If you squeeze a handful, it should hold its shape for a moment and then crumble apart. That is the correct moisture level. Do not oversaturate. If you get it too wet, spread the mixture on a tarp in a ventilated area and allow it to dry back to the correct consistency before using it. Now you are ready to install. For attic installation, simply pour and pack the mixture between your attic joists to a minimum depth of 4 inches. For maximum performance, aim for 6 to 8 inches deep. Use a scrap piece of lumber as a screed to level the surface as you pack. For wall cavities, you will need to work in sections. Pack the material firmly, but not so hard that you compress the air pockets. Those air pockets are your insulation. Compression defeats the purpose. Finally, once installed, allow the material 48 hours to fully dry and settle before closing up any wall panels or adding flooring above it. After 48 hours, the borax treatment bonds with the cellulose fiber and the material becomes stable, fire-resistant, and permanent. Thousands of people have already tried this method, and the results are absolutely stunning. One viewer in Ohio wrote in saying his monthly heating bill dropped by $62 after insulating just his attic crawl space with this technique. Another family in Minnesota insulated their entire garage workshop over a single weekend for $31 in total materials and said the space became usable through winter for the first time in years. Someone in Texas saved over $800 by doing their own wall insulation before a renovation instead of hiring a contractor. The before and after is not something you see immediately. You feel it. The drafts disappear, the temperature inside your home stabilizes, your heater and air conditioner run for shorter cycles, and your electricity bill begins dropping within the very first month. The results from a properly installed newspaper and sawdust insulation layer last up to 15 years with zero maintenance. Some installations from the 1940s have been found still performing during home renovations decades later. This is not a temporary patch. This is a real permanent solution that the fiberglass industry worked very hard to make you forget about. And right now, while you still can, this information is available to you completely free. If this opened your eyes today, hit that like button right now because this kind of information does not stay up forever. Subscribe so you never miss a secret like this one again. The next video is going to expose another material that the construction industry has buried since the 1960s, and it grows in your backyard. You are going to want to see that one. But before you go, here's the final tip that changes everything. When you add a thin layer of aluminum foil bubble wrap, the kind that costs $2 at a dollar store, on top of your newspaper and sawdust layer, you add a radiant barrier that reflects heat back into the room in winter and deflects it out in summer. Combined together, these materials create a 4-layer insulation system that outperforms most mid-grade commercial products. You now know what they spent 70 years hiding. Use it.